Hello everybody and welcome to another video and welcome to a brand new series from Anthem of the Seas. Glenn and I are on our final sea day of a 12-night cruise to the Canary Islands. We are going to give you our top tips for your next Canary Islands cruise and also a few tips about the ship if you're sailing on Anthem of the Seas. We have got vlogs coming up, some guides, food reviews, a tour of the ship. There's loads of content coming your way, so if you're not subscribed, you might want to get subscribed, eh Glenn?
I would do.
And also, don't forget to like the video to appease the algorithm gods and help it build up in the rankings in the world of YouTube so more people get to see our content. So, without further ado...
Are we numbering these? Because we have quite a few and I lose track of numbers.
Let's start with our first tip.
That's better. Check what day of the week you are docked in each of your ports. If you are going on a Sunday, that you know that what you're going to see, what you're going to visit is actually
Going to be open. Yeah, so it's, but also I think you need to remain flexible. One of the interesting things that happened on this cruise, and I say it's interesting, more like annoying, is that a few days before the cruise, industrial action was announced in one of the ports. So they actually mirrored the entire itinerary, but that also meant landing in Lanzarote on a Sunday. You stayed on the ship. I went into town. That was literally the only island that we haven't vlogged because there was nothing to do. I just went for a walk to see if anything was open and just a few cafes. It's a lovely walk if you want to go out and enjoy the weather. If it's a nice day, then fill your boots. Just be careful on Sundays because things do shut down.
And while all of you non-English people are busy Googling what is fill your boots are, even the local buses weren't running on Sunday because one of our cabin neighbours had planned to take local buses to a tourist resort and then realised because it was a Sunday none of the bus routes were actually operating.
Speaking of things being shut, some places do still exercise the afternoon siesta. So in a few cases we were on an excursion in the morning and we'd get back around lunchtime and everything, some of the stores were closing and they weren't going to open again until after we had departed. So if
and it was quite a long one, wasn't it? It was like 2 till 5, I think,
yeah,
a couple of the stops. So from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m, a lot of the stores were closed.
Yeah, so just be mindful of that because the last thing you want to do is go, well, I really want to go and buy this or I need to go and check this out, and then the store will be shut. It's not all the stores, but it's just a few of them. But that's something to be made, you should be aware of when visiting the Canary Islands.
Next tip is check ahead of time where your ship is going to dock. Now that might sound a strange thing to do, but a perfect example, to use Lanzarote again, is the ship was docked in a particular part of the port which added a good 20-25 minutes walk into town. So again, you can look at a couple of websites. I believe Cruise Mapper's one of them. You could actually look at the cruise port website, the specific port website, and you should be able to see several months ahead which ships are in what days and what part of the port they are going to be using. Just to check how far a walk, if you're going to be visiting that port on your own or independently, how far you need to walk before you hit the town.
The other thing is, some of these places have multiple ports, or the ports are quite large, and so even though we're talking about the Canary Islands here, on this cruise we did spend a day in Lisbon, and I think a lot of the cruises that come in that way will stop off at Lisbon or in Portugal. Now Lisbon has a port which is quite far away from the city centre and one that's quite close, and the one that's quite close is slap bang in the middle of town. It's fantastic, and that was where we were docked. But we'd planned to see a lot of places near the other port. The distance is a bit much. If you've got mobility problems and things like that, just it's something to be mindful. If you want any advice on that, please ask us in the comments. We'll be happy to give you any knowledge that we may have on the specific ports.
Or may not have, in which case we'll just say sorry.
In which case we'll just make it up.
We never make it up.
No, we never make it up. On your phone, you should be able to drop a pin where you are, where the ship is. So that's always a good point. I found that really, really useful because it can be quite easy to lose your bearings. So it's just nice if you've got that pin in your phone, you can just, mark your way back to the ship. Nice and easy.
It was strange because in Las Palmas, our tour guide, because we had a tour in the morning, and the tour guide, when they were dropping us off back at the port, said you've still got plenty of time, you can go and explore the capital city. And the tip that I'm going to give you is look out for the tall skyscraper building. There's like one building that's much taller than all the others. And he said that is the use that as the center point to find your way back to the ship, which seemed fantastic from the ship because you could see it clearly. However, once we were in town, we couldn't see it. The streets are so kind of narrow, you couldn't see this building. So without Google Maps, with our pin dropped in it, we'd have found it much more difficult to get back to the ship. And when you're wandering around in 25, 26, 27 degree heat, you've got an hour or half an hour, whatever, till the ship goes, you're going to start to get stressed. And that's the last thing you need when you're on vacation.
Yeah. Speaking of Las Palmas, another tip is don't skip it. If your Canary Islands cruise is going to Gran Canaria, it will dock in Las Palmas, and of course you can do like loads of excursions. But the beach in Las Palmas is called what's the name of the beach?
Las Canteras.
Canteras Beach is astonishing. It is so lovely, and it's beautiful as well. Loads of places to eat around there. Don't skip it, honestly, and it is so close to the port. Like you could probably walk there in what, 20-30 minutes maybe, if that. And
much less than that.
Well,
like 15 minutes, I would say.
You've got little legs. If you've got little legs, it might take a bit longer. On this cruise, I've met a lot of first-time cruisers. I love meeting first-time cruisers. If you were a first-time cruiser on this ship and you said hello to me, hello. It's so nice to speak to people who are so enthusiastic about their cruise for the very first time. A lot of them were saying to me they felt the excursions that were offered were a bit meh. They weren't the best, and I think the issue with this, and it's a point that I have brought up in the vlogs, when you have those excursions that are on your own, and it will say it's a 5-hour excursion to a small town the other side of Tenerife or somewhere, and we will take you there and we will bring you back and you can do whatever you want. I think when you're looking at booking that excursion and it says it's say 4 hours, for example, I would go onto Google Maps or Apple Maps or whichever map service you use and work out how long it takes to get from the port to that town, and then times that by 2, and then what you have left is the time you're probably going to have, and then cut that down as well. Because in some of these on your own tours, we only had an hour in a place, which meant that it wasn't long enough to really get lunch. It wasn't enough to really, do a bit of shopping and then get some lunch, or you had to be really sort of specific over the things you're going to do on your own. And I know this is all a taster menu, so you might want to go back. Some of these towns were so pretty. I would like to have spent another hour or 2 there, but would I go back to that island just to go to that place for a week? No. But so I just think that you just need to be a little bit mindful and a little bit of research to how much value you're going to get out of your excursion, because everyone knows that Royal Caribbean charges a premium for what is essentially a taxi service. Do you agree, Glenn?
Not entirely.
Why don't you agree?
I'd like to keep my opinion for the vlogs from those excursions, if you don't mind.
Oh, look at that. That's that's basically Glenn blackmailing you and telling you need to be subscribed to the channel.
And if you're not, you'll miss my opinions. That might be a good thing, I don't know.
It'll probably be a good thing. Okay, our next tip is the Canary Islands cruise usually sail from Southampton for the most part.
I think so, yeah.
And what is the UK famous for, Glenn?
Fish and chips.
Yes. What else? Bad weather.
Oh, well, yes.
Lots of bad weather. And right out there now, it doesn't look very nice at all. And we're about a day away from home. Now, I'm just going to say this. When you get to the Canary Islands, chances are your weather's going to be fantastic. Enjoy yourself. But coming in and out of the UK, just pack accordingly. It may be wet, it may be cold. The last thing, if you've got to go from the port back to a hotel, or you're going to the train station or wherever, you don't want to get absolutely soaked and only have a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on, along with all your bags. So I just think just pack accordingly. The pool deck right now is very windy, it's very cold. They've shut deck 5 at the moment because of the high winds. And yeah, so a lot of people are like sort of cramped indoors, and it's a little bit chilly outside, so pack accordingly. My next tip is all around perfume or aftershave, or Le Parfum, in which case this is. In the Canary Islands, a lot of things are tax and duty free: tobacco, alcohol, and perfume. And I was in Lanzarote earlier this year actually, and I was like, I wanted to buy some aftershave, so I went to buy this, and when I was in the shop, I actually checked on Amazon how much it cost, and it was £15 cheaper on Amazon UK than what it cost in the shop with its tax and duty free price. So I would say don't assume that everything is going to be that much cheaper in the Canary Islands. Just do a little bit of research and just do it on your phone when you're in the shop, because you might find that the bargain you think you're getting isn't actually a bargain at all. God, I feel like Martin Lewis.
Next tip, Lisbon. Wonderful stop. It was the last port on our itinerary, and we were very lucky to have pretty much an entire day there. I think we got in early morning and didn't leave till 11 or 11:30 p.m. So that was a fantastic day. Lisbon is wonderful to walk around yourself. One thing to bear in mind though is getting around on foot can be quite difficult. Two reasons. One, it's very hilly. You've seen videos and photographs of the trams in Portugal, in Lisbon, struggling up hills, etc. It really is steep on some of those climbs. And the second thing is a lot of the sidewalks are made from polished marble and kind of flagstones and cobblestones, and they're actually very slippery. I had a pair of slides on because the weather was lovely, and I found I was actually slipping a lot of the time. I felt quite unsafe. I'm fairly stable on my feet normally, so I would say if you have mobility issues, just think about how you're going to get around safely if you're going to do Lisbon independently or an organised walking tour. It's fantastic, and I'm not saying avoid walking in Lisbon, exactly the opposite. Just be careful when you're out and about, and don't be overexerting yourself when it's very hot.
Finally, for those of you who smoke, on this specific itinerary, and I don't know if it's all, it must be all itineraries going out to Southampton, I think it is anyway, but I know on this ship the casino is non-smoking. Whatever anyone tells you, coming out of Southampton to the Canary Islands on Anthem of the Seas, it is a non-smoking casino. You cannot smoke indoors anywhere on this ship. It is on the starboard side on deck 5, and on the pool deck on the port side on deck 14 are the 2 smoking areas. That's just a little bit of inside knowledge for you smokers out there.
And if the weather's bad, they tend to close down the deck 5 area, so you're only left with the deck 14 poolside. And today, for example, it's very blustery, very rainy, and that whole area is packed with everyone huddling together in their jackets and coats because it is cold up there, smoking. Hey. So you know what? I would say going on Anthem of the Seas is a wonderful opportunity to give up smoking.
That was our top tips for the specific Canary Islands. I'm sure there's a lot more out there. But I would say if you've been on this cruise before, this itinerary has been running for a number of years, have any tips that you want to share, please put it in the comments below, and share the knowledge, share the wealth with your fellow cruisers, because there's always tips that we forget about, but we do have a few tips for the ship specifically. So if you're traveling on Anthem of the Seas in one of the newer itineraries, moving out of, I think, Asia, it was moving over to Asia at some point, and you're thinking about sailing on this ship, this might be of use to you. So, next tip, Mr. Glenn.
Okay, so first tip for this ship specifically, although it will apply to probably a lot of other Royal Caribbean ships, this first tip, is pool towels. If you are early risers and you like to get your sunbed nice and early, we've been down to the solarium a couple of times at 6 a.m. because we're I certainly am more a morning person, so I'm then bright and early to get my choice of sun lounger. The pool towel desk isn't open that early. Therefore, if you need a pool towel, you're not always able to get one. So our top tip for this is check out your towels the night before and keep them in your cabin, and then just take them along in the morning, so you know, even if the towel desk is shut when you arrive, you've got towels.
And let's talk about the solarium for a second, because this is kind of a top tip and a bit of a beware, I guess. On this sailing, obviously coming in and out of the UK, the weather isn't great sometimes, and there are a few sea days. The solarium, depending on obviously the volume of people on the ship, has been incredibly busy. There are a few people who are early risers like ourselves who like to get down to the solarium. So just be, if you want one of the day beds or anything like that, just be aware you will need to get there early. It's just the way it is. But I'm also going to say this: don't be one of those people that goes early, leaves your towel and goes back to bed. That is just not on. I've seen it too many times on too many cruises and had a few run-ins with people because I think it's unacceptable. But don't be that person. Just fall asleep on the sunbed, frankly. That's what I normally do. But at least if you want to spend time in the solarium and you want a premium spot, you will have to get up early. Or become a YouTuber, because then you have to go there really early so you can film it with nobody else around, and then you're already there.
Next tip is, again, it's another get there early tip. This particular ship seems to have a capacity problem with some of the venues, and we're talking specifically about Vintages, about Schooner Bar, and Cafe 270.
Yeah, Boleros.
Boleros as
and
well.
The British pub.
And oh
my gosh, you.
I don't think I've ever seen a table free in the British pub every time I've walked past.
I've never actually been and spent time in the British pub more than I think once on Wonder of the Seas, and the reason for that is because it is very, very popular, and so again, it's one of those things. If you know you're going to want to go to that specific quiz, or you want to go to that presentation, get there early, because you might find yourself doing the name that tune quiz from outside the bar while standing next to Sorrento's with a pad in your hand.
And when we're saying early, we're saying 30-45 minutes. In Cafe 270, I think we were in a kind of an enrichment talk a few days ago, and as the enrichment talk was drawing to a close, we left kind of early just so we could kind of exit the venue before everybody else, and there were probably 30, 40, 50 people all standing just outside waiting to come in for the next session. I don't know what that was, a dancing line dancing or
no,
something.
it was
like that.
it was hip hop dancing.
Hip hop dancing.
Over 50s hip hop dancing.
Oof.
Because there wasn't many people under 50. But
Well, I think
we didn't stay for that because not really our thing. But I kind of wish I had, just to see it, to be honest.
So get there early.
Get there early. There we go. That was a long way of saying get there early.
Next tip. Because this cruise is leaving from the UK, we have a kettle in the cabin, which is quite a novelty, as well as a coffee machine. So top tip here is, if you like a cup of tea in your cabin, the milk that's provided is those small kind of
UHT things.
Yeah, the UHT milk, which does not taste good.
If you're English and if you're from the UK and you like a good tea, a good old builder's tea, that milk is not good. Yeah.
So our answer to that is, your first trip to the buffet, get yourself a mug, fill it up with milk, proper milk from the buffet.
No, they'll do cartons.
Did they do cartons?
They'll give you a carton.
Oh, for the cereal.
Yeah, if you ask them, they'll give you a carton of milk for you to put in your fridge.
Yeah, that might be what I like the milk because it's nice and rich. But if there's a carton and it's either, I think they're semi-skimmed, the carton ones.
Yeah, semi-skimmed is fine.
So next tip. All about coffee, and Ant, you're the coffee drinker. So
I am the coffee drinker.
What's the deal?
Okay, so I bought on this sailing. I bought the refreshment package, and I bought it for one reason only: coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, and I like Starbucks coffee, and it is on the refreshment package on Anthem of the Seas, in La Patisserie, on the Patisserie on the Esplanade, and also in the Windjammer. So for me, that is a way for me to save a lot of money, because you're spending $5 at a throw. On Anthem, you can also buy, I think on all Royal strips actually, a coffee card, which you pay in advance, and you can buy it before you're cruising. It'll be a bit cheaper, or you can buy it on the ship.
It's $31 currently at buying it online, or $39 if you buy it on the ship, which gives you 15 coffee credits.
Yeah, and listen to what that's key. It's coffee credits. So the way it works is they will punch your card, and that's per shot. So if you're like me, and I'm a grande cafe latte, skim milk, extra shot, extra hot, that would be 2 credits straight off the bat. For me, that wouldn't last very long. A fellow passenger said to me she was using a coffee card, and she said she tips them, and sometimes they'll only punch one. So
Okay, but we're not recommending that you do
it's
that,
like the $20 hack in Vegas.
which no longer works.
So the point is this: if you're a heavy coffee drinker and you like Starbucks coffee, and the filter coffee they offer complimentary or as part of your pack, or part of the cruise fare, isn't going to cut the mustard, so to speak, then essentially you may find that the refreshment package on a deal is actually better value for you. And of course you get all your soft drinks and your non-alcoholic cocktails, and you get 2 bottles of water at a time. So every time I was going to a bar, I'd get 2 bottles of water and fill up our fridge. So our fridge was always full of cold water. But you may find that that works out at much better value than the coffee card if you're a heavy coffee drinker like myself.
And if you're not a coffee snob, they just have Lavazza filter
Which
coffee
is fine.
and cream, which makes a
Yeah.
very acceptable.
It's fine,
coffee.
it's fine. But I'm telling you now, I'm talking about coffee right now, and I'm literally thinking, how long have I got left to record this video? Because I want to go down and get another coffee. I think I've got a problem. Oh, you can talk about this tip, Glenn, because who woke me up the other night?
Well, it wasn't who, it was what.
No, that didn't wake me up. You woke me up because of the what?
Okay, so I was woken up, and not for the first time on a cruise, but by a banging sound in the cabin. And when you have high seas and swells, etc., particularly during the night, things move around. If that happens primarily towards the end of your cruise, what you'll find is a lot of the hangers in your wardrobe, which did have clothes on, now no longer have clothes on, and the hangers are therefore swinging blindly and tend to hit
Each other.
each other and the side of the
You-
wardrobe.
There was this clip here that you recorded. Now, be honest, is that staged or was that actually swinging like that?
No, that was it.
Because I've been reviewing all the footage as we've been recording.
No
this
no
series.
special effects were used in the
Yeah.
filming
And-
of those vlogs.
And I did make a mental note to ask you, because I thought to myself, oh, did he stage that and sort of bang them just to? But that was actually how vicious they were moving
Because they're those the chunky wooden ones,
with the clips.
and they have, some of them have the clips as well. So if you've got them anywhere near each other with no clothes on them, there's
They'll
nothing
bang,
to
yeah.
dampen the sound, and so they're just going to bang
Yeah.
against. So in the middle of the night, when everything else is lovely and quiet, you've got this constant banging of hangers. So
Wrap them
top
in a
tip
towel and
is-
put them in the bottom of the
yeah,
wardrobe.
well, we like to. I will either kind of space them out, so we've got one hanger empty, one hanger with a garment, one hanger empty,
Oh,
so that stops them.
life hack.
Or just take the empty ones out and put them in a drawer or something so they're out of the way.
And also things like our ice bucket as well. It's a rounded ice bucket, and that's like banging against the wall, which so a bit of an apology to Adam and Diane, who are next door, because I think that woke her up one night as well. We've had a very movie ship.
I think it was moving.
Moving ship. Doing well today. We mentioned earlier about the alcohol, about perfume not necessarily being cheaper on the Canary Islands. I'm going to tell you now, at Port Merchants on the ship, this is our final tip, the alcohol and tobacco isn't necessarily cheaper either. I would say don't just rush in there, buy a bottle of whiskey and think you got a great deal. You may find that you're paying a little bit more than what you would at home. The only benefit, I think, to Port Merchants is you may find some spirits and some more premium spirits that are harder to find at home, particularly if you're in the UK. I really like Woodford's Reserve Bourbon, and the double-barreled one is quite difficult to find. And here, I think it's about $60 for a litre, which I have seen it for £30 in an airport. So, you just have to, I would just say, just be mindful that the first price you see isn't necessarily going to be the cheapest you'll see it. So if you are looking to save a few bucks, then yeah. Also, one other thing, bonus tip for you gamblers out there. So basically, the more you gamble, you get points, and those points make prizes. And if you have 2,500 points, according to a gambler I met on the ship, that equals a free cruise from Royal Caribbean. But you have to gamble a lot.
Well, I had 29 points this cruise.
I had 89 points. I lost $100. I put $100 was my gambling budget for this week, and I won enough to keep me interested, but then I lost it all. So about 3 days ago.
It clearly doesn't take much to keep you interested.
That's the end of this video, but we have another video that the algorithm thinks that you're going to enjoy, and it's going to be appearing right here over Glenn's beautiful face. Thank you so much for watching this video. Next week, our first vlog will be coming out, unless of course you're watching in the future, in which case it's already out, and go watch that next. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, like the video to appease the algorithm gods, and don't forget to share this with all your friends. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Ant, he's been Glenn. Say goodbye, Glenn.